You have probably seen them leap out of the water and thought, what a beautiful, happy creature. Everyone does. That is exactly the problem. Welcome to Wild World Explorer, the channel where we look at nature the way it actually is. Not the way we wish it was. Today we are talking about dolphins, and not the friendly kind from the theme park. We are talking about the real animal, the one that scientists have been studying for decades and still cannot fully explain. The more researchers learn about dolphin society, the more uncomfortable the findings become. Picture this. A pod of bottlenose dolphins moving through warm, open water. Sleek gray bodies cutting through the surface like arrows. They look coordinated, they look joyful, and in a way they are, but what is actually happening beneath that surface? Inside that group, inside those unusually large brains, is something far more complex than joy. These animals remember. Not just where food is, but who helped them and who did not. They call each other by individual names. Actual names, unique sound signatures that function like a personal identity, used to address specific individuals across distance. No other animal outside of humans does this in quite the same way. And then there is the other side. The side nobody puts on a greeting card. Dolphins have been documented coordinating violent attacks. Not for food, not for clear survival reasons, but in patterns that look disturbingly deliberate. Groups of males forming alliances to control females. Older dolphins apparently teaching younger ones specific aggressive behaviors. Calves from outside the group turning up dead. This is not sensationalism, this is the published science. And it raises a question that is surprisingly hard to answer. What does it mean when an animal this intelligent chooses violence? The species at the center of most of this research is Tursiops truncatus. That is the formal scientific name for the bottlenose dolphin. The one you know from every documentary, every aquarium, every logo of a beach resort. Tursiops comes from the Greek word for cheese. Referring to the blunt, rounded snout, truncatus means cut short, describing that same stubby beak. A name that sounds almost harmless, but do not let the name fool you. By the end of this video, you will see this animal completely differently. Stay with us. The truth about dolphin intelligence is one of the most unsettling stories in all of natural science. So we know the name Tursiops truncatus, but knowing the name is just the beginning. To really understand what kind of creature we are dealing with, we need to understand where dolphins actually sit in the tree of life. And when you see it clearly, it changes how you think about them completely. Dolphins are mammals. Not fish, not something in between. Full mammals. They breathe air, give birth to live young, nurse their calves with milk, and maintain a warm body temperature. Every single trait that defines a mammal, dolphins have it. They just happen to live entirely in the water. They belong to the order Cetacea, which includes all whales. Dolphins and porpoises. Within that order, bottlenose dolphins sit inside the family Delphinidae. The oceanic dolphins, which is actually the largest family of all cetaceans with around 38 species. So when people say dolphin, they are usually picturing one specific animal inside a much bigger, more diverse group. Now here is the part that still surprises people. The closest living land relatives of dolphins are not seals. Not otters, not any of the animals you might picture. They are even-toed, hoofed animals. Hippos are among their closest genetic cousins. Dolphins and hippos share a common ancestor that lived on land roughly 50 million years ago. That ancient animal eventually split into two lines. One stayed on land, the other walked into the water and never came back. That return to the sea was not a downgrade, it was a complete reinvention, over millions of years. The dolphin lineage lost their hind limbs, reshaped their front limbs into flippers. Developed a tail with horizontal flukes instead of a vertical one like fish, and buried their nostrils on top of their heads as a blowhole. Every part of their body was redesigned for water, but the brain kept growing and growing and growing. By the time we reach the bottlenose dolphin alive today, we are looking at an animal with a brain that, relative to body size, ranks second only to humans among all mammals on Earth, not among sea creatures. Among all mammals, that is not a small detail. That is the central fact of everything that follows in this story. Because a brain that big does not just help you swim faster or find more fish, it builds a social world. And the social world of the dolphin is where things start to get very, very interesting. That growing brain needed a world big enough to use it, and dolphins found one. The ocean in almost every corner of it became their home. Bottlenose dolphins are found in every ocean on Earth except the frozen polar regions. Warm tropical seas, temperate coastal waters, the open deep ocean, shallow bays, river mouths. Even the brackish edges where rivers meet the sea, they live in all of it. No other dolphin species has spread itself across the planet quite as successfully as Tursiops truncatus. And the way they use these environments is not random. Different populations have developed different preferences. Almost like distinct cultures tied to specific places, coastal dolphins tend to stay in shallow waters close to shore. You can find them in the bays of Florida, along the beaches of South Africa, threading through the islands of the Azores. Surfing the wake of fishing boats off the coast of Australia, these are the dolphins people see. The ones that leap near boats and seem almost curious about humans, but there is another population that most people never think about. Offshore bottlenose dolphins. These animals live far out in deep open water, sometimes hundreds of kilometers from land. They are larger than their coastal cousins, with slightly different body proportions suited to longer journeys and deeper dives. Same species, completely different lifestyle. In some parts of the world, the two populations overlap in range but almost never mix. They have been living side by side for so long that they have developed different behaviors, different diets, different social habits. Scientists call this population-level cultural difference. It is the kind of thing you normally only talk about with humans. The habitat range of Tursiops truncatus also follows the food. Wherever there are fish, squid, and crustaceans in good numbers, you are likely to find dolphins not far behind. They track seasonal fish movements the way a seasoned fisherman would, using memory and learned knowledge passed down through generations. And that is the key word, memory. Dolphins do not just drift through their environment reacting to whatever they find. They know their territory. They remember specific locations, specific feeding spots, specific individuals they have encountered before. The ocean is not just a place they swim through. It is a map they carry in their heads, a map built over a lifetime, and possibly passed on to the next generation, which raises a question: how exactly do they pass that knowledge on? What does dolphin communication actually look like? That is where this story takes its first real turn. Before we get to how dolphins talk to each other, we need to understand the body doing the talking. Because every feature of the dolphin body is a piece of technology, and some of it is more advanced than anything humans have built. Start with the shape. A bottlenose dolphin is typically between 2 and 4 meters long, and can weigh anywhere from 150 to 650 kilograms depending on the population. The body is smooth, torpedo-shaped, built for almost zero water resistance when a dolphin moves at full speed. The water barely notices. That streamlined form allows bursts of up to 35 kilometers per hour, with some individuals recorded even faster in short sprints, but the outside is almost the least interesting part. The skin of a dolphin replaces itself at roughly 9 times the rate of human skin. That constant renewal keeps the surface hydrodynamically clean, reducing drag the way an engineer would design a racing hull. The skin also has a subtle microscopic texture that disrupts turbulence around the body. It looks smooth to the eye. Under a microscope, it is doing complex fluid work. Now look at the head. That rounded, bulging forehead is not just the shape of the skull. It is an organ, called the melon. This fatty structure acts as an acoustic lens. It focuses and shapes the clicks that dolphins produce internally, and sends them out as a tight beam of sound into the water ahead. This is echolocation, and the dolphin version of it is extraordinarily precise. A dolphin can send out a click, receive the echo, and build a 3-dimensional picture of its environment in near real time, not just detecting that something is there, but determining its size, shape, density, distance, and movement. Dolphins have been observed using echolocation to detect a steel ball the size of a grape, buried under sand at a distance of several meters. They can tell the difference between objects of almost identical size that are made of different materials. And the ears that receive those returning echoes are not on the outside of the head, they are internal. Connected to the jaw, the lower jaw of a dolphin acts as a receiver, picking up sound vibrations through the bone and transmitting them directly to the inner ear. A brain that builds a mental map of the ocean through sound alone. That is what we are working with here. And that brain, as we are about to see, uses every bit of its power in ways that go far beyond hunting fish. That brain built for sound does something remarkable with it. It builds a society. Dolphins do not live alone. They live in groups called pods, typically ranging from a handful of individuals to several dozen. But the structure of that group is not simple. It is not just a bunch of animals swimming together for safety. It is a layered social network, with alliances, rivalries, histories, and something that looks uncomfortably like politics. Every dolphin in a pod knows every other dolphin personally, not just by sight or smell, but by sound. Each dolphin develops its own unique whistle, called a signature whistle, within the first few months of life. This whistle functions like a name. It is individual, consistent, and recognizable across years, even decades. Dolphins call out their own signature whistle to announce their presence. And they copy the signature whistle of another dolphin when they want to address that specific individual directly. Let that sit for a moment. They call each other by name. No other non-human animal has been confirmed to do this in a natural, self-generated way. Not chimpanzees, not elephants, not parrots trained by humans. Dolphins invented it on their own. In the open ocean, long before any researcher was watching, and the memory attached to those names is long. Studies on wild dolphin populations have shown that individuals can recognize the signature whistle of a former companion after more than 20 years of separation. They do not just recognize it, they respond to it. They react the way you might react to hearing the voice of someone you knew well a long time ago. This means dolphins carry a detailed social map in their heads, a map of who they know, what those individuals have done, and how past interactions went, and that last part matters enormously. Dolphins hold grudges. Field researchers have documented cases of dolphins actively avoiding or behaving aggressively towards specific individuals that mistreated them years earlier. The memory of a bad interaction does not fade, it gets stored, it shapes future behavior. And then there is the other end of that same intelligence, coordinated group violence. Researchers in multiple locations have documented male dolphin coalitions, sometimes 3 to 5 individuals, working together to isolate, chase, and attack other dolphins, not for food, not to protect territory in any straightforward sense. The target is often a single animal, and the attack is systematic and sustained. What does it mean when an animal this socially sophisticated chooses to organize violence? That question does not get easier when you look at how dolphin reproduction actually works. Dolphin reproduction looks gentle from the outside, a mother and her calf swimming close together. The baby tucked just beside her dorsal fin, surfacing in perfect rhythm. It is one of the most tender images in the natural world. But the story of how that calf came to exist and what it faces from the moment it is born is far less gentle. Female bottlenose dolphins reach sexual maturity between 5 and 10 years of age. Males take longer, sometimes up to 14 years, but reaching maturity does not mean a male gets to reproduce freely. That privilege is fought for, negotiated, and sometimes taken by force. Male dolphins form coalitions. Small groups of 2 or 3 males bond closely over years, sometimes over a lifetime. These alliances are not casual. The males in a coalition groom each other, defend each other, and coordinate their movements with a level of precision that researchers have found genuinely difficult to explain without using the word strategy. When a coalition identifies a female they want to mate with, they herd her. They surround her, cut off her escape routes, and keep her with them, sometimes for weeks. This is not a gentle courtship, it is coercive. And it has been documented repeatedly across multiple wild populations on multiple continents. And then there are the larger alliances. Coalitions of coalitions, groups of 6 or more males that form a second order alliance to compete against other groups for access to females. The social maneuvering involved in maintaining these layered relationships, tracking who owes a favor to who can be trusted in a confrontation, requires exactly the kind of long memory and social intelligence we described earlier. The female, once she gives birth, carries the entire weight of raising the calf alone. The nursing period lasts anywhere from 18 months to 3 years, one of the longest in the animal kingdom relative to body size. During this time, the mother rarely leaves the calf's side. She teaches it how to hunt, how to navigate, and how to read the social landscape of the pod. But the calf is not safe simply because it has a mother. Infanticide has been documented in dolphin populations. Males have been observed killing calves that are not their own, apparently as a strategy to bring the female back into reproductive readiness sooner. The ocean is not a nursery. It is an arena, and even the youngest animals are already players in it. What happens when those players step outside the boundaries of the observable? That is where the story enters truly strange territory. Humans have been watching dolphins for thousands of years, long before researchers with recording equipment and underwater cameras. Sailors saw them, fishermen saw them, and what they saw they turned into stories. Ancient Greek and Roman sailors believed dolphins were the souls of the dead, returning to the sea after a human life. The god Apollo was said to have taken the form of a dolphin to guide the first priests to his temple at Delphi. The very name Delphi is believed by many historians to share its root with the Greek word for dolphin. These were not seen as animals. They were seen as messengers, guides, something between the human world and whatever lay beyond it. And across cultures separated by oceans, the same idea kept appearing. Indigenous coastal communities in Australia. In the Pacific Islands in West Africa, all carried stories of dolphins that protected fishermen, warned of storms, or led lost boats back to shore. The dolphin as guardian is one of the most widespread mythological figures on Earth. But underneath those myths, modern researchers keep finding things that do not fit neatly into any category. Mass strandings remain one of the deepest unsolved mysteries in marine science. Every year, dolphins and whales beach themselves in groups, sometimes dozens at a time, on coastlines around the world. The most widely accepted explanation involves disruption to their echolocation from military sonar, underwater noise pollution, or geomagnetic anomalies that confuse their navigation. But not all strandings match those conditions. Some happen far from any naval activity, in quiet bays in calm weather with no obvious external cause. Researchers have documented pods that enter the water after being helped off the beach, only to strand again within hours. Something is pulling them back and we do not know what. Then there is the question of what dolphins do with their dead. Multiple field observations have recorded mother dolphins carrying deceased calves at the surface for days, sometimes more than a week. Is that grief, confusion, and inability to accept the loss? Scientists deliberately avoid the word grief when describing animal behavior, because it implies an inner emotional experience we cannot measure, but the behavior is there, repeated, documented, unexplained, and perhaps the most unsettling, unresolved question of all: if dolphins have individual names, long-term memory, coordinated social strategy, and behaviors that look like mourning. Where exactly does the line between their inner world and ours actually fall? Nobody has answered that yet. And we are almost out of time to find out. We are almost out of time, and so in a very real sense. Are they? The bottlenose dolphin is not currently listed as endangered. The species as a whole is classified as least concern by conservation authorities, but that classification covers the species broadly. And it hides a much more complicated picture underneath. Specific populations are in serious trouble. The Indo-Pacific bottlenose dolphin faces heavy pressure in parts of Asia. Coastal populations worldwide are absorbing the full impact of human activity at close range, fishing nets that trap and drown them, boat traffic that fragments their acoustic environment, chemical pollution that accumulates in their bodies through the fish they eat, and plastic that fills their stomachs with material that offers no nutrition and cannot be expelled. The noise problem is particularly brutal for an animal that perceives the world through sound. The ocean is no longer quiet. It is filled with the constant low rumble of shipping traffic, the sharp pulses of sonar, the mechanical noise of drilling and construction. For a dolphin trying to echolocate, trying to hear the signature whistle of a companion a kilometer away, trying to coordinate a hunt through sound signals, that noise is not an inconvenience. It is a wall. It cuts off communication, disrupts navigation, and in the case of intense military sonar, causes physical injury and death. Climate change adds another layer. Warming oceans shift the distribution of fish populations, which forces dolphins to travel farther, spend more energy, and learn new territory. For animals whose survival depends on accumulated local knowledge passed down through generations, the disruption of that knowledge base is a genuine existential threat. You cannot just move a dolphin to a new ocean and expect it to thrive. The map in its head took a lifetime to build. And yet here is what stays with you after learning all of this. Dolphins kept building that social world. They kept developing names, alliances, memories, and something that looks like grief, not because anyone designed them to, but because intelligence, once it starts growing, does not stop at convenient boundaries. They are not the innocent creatures from the posters. They are something more complicated, more fascinating, and more fragile than that image ever allowed. They are a mirror held up to our own nature, and what looks back is not entirely comfortable. If this story made you think differently about the ocean and the minds living inside it, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Like this video, subscribe to Wild World Explorer and keep watching. The natural world is far stranger and far more wonderful than we give it credit for.